welcome to SharePoint Power Hour. I'm Laura Rogers, and I have Joelle Jobson here. Say hello.
Hello, everybody.
We need to get that whole dual video thing figured out. We really do. So you're not just on audio. We had it working the other day, and then the next time we went to have Power Hour, it magically didn't work. So it's like all this, the technology between Skype talking to XSplit, talking to YouTube. It's fun. So today's Power Hour is going to be another one about Microsoft Flow. If you're joining SharePoint Power Hour for the first time, this is a weekly show we've been doing for years, and Wednesdays at 11 Central. And the fun about having a live show is we have this chat that we have going on in Slack. So our channel is iwmentor.slack.com, and there is a form to fill out in the description of the YouTube video if you want to join for the first time. And Power Hour is all about out of the box. You know, we're not programmers. We're not doing anything super complicated. It's a lot of just out of the box functionality in Office 365, SharePoint, Power Apps, Flow, all that fun stuff. And yeah, so today's flow is going to be, I wrote a blog post about it, and I posted the post in the chat there. But the name of it is Flow Out of Box Reminders. And you can actually go to that post right now and follow along, because I've got this huge printout diagram of this flow. So I'm not just going to go through that exact flow in this Power Hour, but I'm going to expound upon it. So there are a few things that once you use it and use this sort of a template, then there are some things that you'll probably want to tweak. And there's some things that I mentioned in the post that you'll want to tweak, but what we're going to do in Power Hour is something even further. We're going to go further than that. So it's not going to be just exactly what you see in the post. All right, so you all jump in and say hello on Slack, and I will go ahead and get started with my demo. Let's see. Let me share my screen. Okay, here we go. I'll show you what my list is. This is a SharePoint list. Let me go ahead and refresh it. And this is just, like a test list of projects. And let me unfilter it here. And it's just a bunch of test projects. It's got projects usually have dates involved, right? You have like the start date, the scheduled completion date, actual completion date. Just so any date fields that you've added to your list, you'll be able to do this reminder thing now. So it's not going to be the out-of-the-box date fields like created and modified. It's going to be date fields you've added. So you won't see this option in your list if you haven't added any extra date fields to it. So what you're going to do is go ahead and go to your list and go to the little flow drop down. And now I see this set a reminder. So this is new. I don't know exactly when it came out. I just noticed it the other day. As soon as I noticed it, I wrote a blog about it. But I do remember them mentioning it at Ignite, but it wasn't really clear what it was going to look like or where it was going to be. So here it is. And so I can pick one of these fields to set a reminder. Setting a reminder on the start date doesn't make much sense. Well, I guess if the start date is in the future, like maybe when you create this item in the list, the project hasn't started yet. So you could create a reminder ahead of the start date. So, so you can just pick a date. So you go to your list, you click flow, add a reminder, pick one of your date fields, and then this nice little pop-up comes up on the side. And that's where you can give it a name. Now, I highly recommend giving it a name that has something to do with your list instead of this generic one. I'll just call it Project Start. And then say how many days in advance you want to be reminded. So say I want to be reminded 2 days in advance, 2 days before my project is supposed to start. And then I click Create. Now, this isn't like the request sign-off out of the box flow, because request sign off doesn't actually create a flow in your list of flows. It just is like this built-in flow that runs behind the scenes that you can't edit or can't do anything with. Well, this one actually creates a flow in your list. Like when you go to my flows, it'll be there. So now when I go to, I'll go to just like refresh this, and I'll go to my flows, and oops, I don't know what connection it's fussing about, but one of my connections has been, don't really care about Google Sheets. Okay, so I'll go ahead and go to my flows, and then this is the one that just got created. So get an email reminder, project start. So let me just go look real quick at my project start and see if I need to, just put one that has a project start 2 days from now, just so I can test it out. So I'll go to one of these and I'll just say project start date. I'll say, so the reminder is supposed to be in 2 days. I'm putting the 26th for a reason. That's in 3 days, but I'll just show you what it looks like when I do 2 days. And then scheduled completion date can't be before the start date, so I'll just put that out a little further. Okay, so now I've got at least one item that should fall into that range, right, of start date in 2 days. So I don't have to wait though. So that's the cool thing about Flow, is that like back when information management policies were the only way to do recurring things in SharePoint workflows, it was a real pain to try and test them. You really just had to kind of sit there and wait for the timer job to run. Or if you were on a server, you could actually manually trigger the timer job. But anyway, I can just go in and test this. So when I go to edit it, I can just go run a test. So as I'm testing it, of course, I can see what it's doing as it goes through its workflow. And I can see if it found any. So get items, condition. Okay, so basically it didn't find any. So why didn't it find any though? Well, what it's doing is it's getting days to remind me in, I put 2 in there. And then it's saying, okay, this is a problem, right? So it's got X plus 2 days. So that's the 25th, and then plus 1 is 26. That makes sense. But then it didn't get the item. So what happened the other day is when I see start date greater than or equal to 125 and start date less than 2019 126. Let me see. Start date. Start date 125. Yeah. Okay. So there's some weirdness with the date, and I wrote about this in the blog post too, is that it's using the UTC time. So it's going to be off, which is why it didn't necessarily capture that start date, because it's like me, I'm in Central Time. It's like 6 hours off. So it's off as far as the calculations might look like they're right, because it's only showing you the date in here, but it's not showing you the time, and the time is going to be off by 6 hours. So, did the start date say 2018? Oh yeah, well that would do it. No wait, oh yeah, the start date says 2018. Thanks. So the other night when I was writing this blog post, it was at night. So it was, say, the 22nd to me, but in UTC it was the 23rd. So that's why it was, coming up as being another day. 20, what am I doing? Oh, start date. Yeah, thanks. So since it's only 11 in the morning here, it's going to come up with the correct day. But when it's later in the day, and UTC time is 6 hours ahead, and UTC time is tomorrow, that's when it was putting the wrong day in here when I was testing it, when I was writing my blog post. So what I did in the post was I was just talking about how you can go in there and change it to adjust it to your UTC time in the formula, and we'll look at that in a minute. So I'll go ahead and run it one more time. I love the way you can just test these so easily and quickly. Since I changed that value, we should get an item, at least one. Yep, there's one. Dun, 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 got my email. Okay, so here's the email that I got. I have this Laura test 3. That's the one 2 days before start date. Okay, so that did go correctly, but again, you might want to look into that, what I did with the UTC time. In my blog post, I went into number of days to remind me in, and I did UTC now, and I did -6 because my time zone is 6 hours off behind UTC. So that way it would be the UTC would, this calculation would be the exact same time zone. All right. So that's, it goes through there, and I'll just real quick kind of go through what it does when I edit it. It's got a lot built in. So whatever recurrence I typed in there, it'll put it in a variable. But basically every day, it's going to, at 15 o'clock, which is the default, it's going to run. This flow is going to run. So you can change this to be once a week. You can change the time zone. You can even change what time it runs. Yeah. And then it's going to build table. It's just anytime you use a variable in a flow, you have to initiate the variable. So this is just initiating the variable just to say, I want to use it. And you have to initiate the variables at the very beginning of the flow. That's the only place it lets you do it. So this just means that I'm going to use this variable at some point later. And then this is the number that I typed in when I first generated the flow. That's the days. And then it gets my profile. The reason it gets my profile is just to be able to use my name in the email that it sends. The email says, Laura Rogers, you asked to be reminded in 2 days. So that's what it needs that for. It says there's still a limit of 30 days on a flow. Like as far as it'll run, you mean? I'm not sure off the top of my head. And I usually don't create flows that will sit there running that long. All right, so it gets your profile so it can get your name. And then it does this calculation. So it just basically adds however many days to remind you in. It does a calculation to go ahead and get today plus 2. So whatever the day is when this workflow is running, it gets that plus 2 since I typed a 2 in there. And then it takes that date and adds 1 to it. So that way I have, like, in 2 days is the 25th, and then a day after that is the 26th. So the workflow is going to take those 2 dates and, like, the 25th, 26th, take all the times that fall in between those two, and it's going to go get the items in SharePoint whose dates fall in that range. So this is where it gets to list. Now, this is the fancy little trick that is used in here to be able to have sort of a variable list, because, this is a generic email that workflow that, is built in. So this is the way that Microsoft used for you to be able to go get the list name of the list that you started this flow from. So it's put in the GUID of the list right here. And then, so if you wanted to change, like make a copy of this workflow and adjust it, you'd have to, thanks Ed, you'd have to use the GUID of the list in here. Okay, gets all the items. Now this is fancy. This is a fancy formula. So I'll go ahead and show you what it's doing. It's basically taking, this is written in camel code, but it's just very long and complicated. So it takes in this case, I created it on the scheduled completion date for my project list. And it says the scheduled completion date is greater than or equal to that today plus X days. So in the new one I just created, it would be the 25th. It's greater than or equal to the 25th. And it's got the little and in single quotes. It's schedule completion date as less than the days plus 1. So basically it's greater than the 25th and it's less than the 26th. So that is the camel query code that is going to give me that specific date range. Now this is really going to be useful. This syntax, it might be useful to take that and kind of save it off so you can use it later, because I mean these templates are really great learning tools. So you take that and learn from it as to how they did that. Now, so that is what it's filtering the list by. So it's only bringing in those items. It's not bringing in the whole list, this is a really efficient way to do that. And then after that, it's basically saying this get items thing up here, if it's empty. So when you do basic mode, it doesn't have if it's empty, but you can write code to change it to say if it's empty. Let me see. Let me just grab that. I'll show you kind of how I kind of work my way through. Now, apparently they're about to change the if here to make it more user-friendly and have a nice big condition interface to be able to do multiple things. So like, see, if I go into basic mode, I can say if and get items. And then if, see, it doesn't have is empty. So like if I do like is equal to X or something like that, then I go into advanced mode, I can see how the syntax works. So that's where, so I can just change this to @empty. That's kind of how I go in there and figure out the syntax. And then I don't need this X thing. Not sure if that makes sense to you, but that's just kind of, sometimes I'll just start with some kind of actual condition in there using basic mode. And then when I flip to advanced mode, that's when I'll just start tweaking things. That's my sort of little shortcut. All right, if it's empty, I don't do anything. That means it didn't find anything in that date range. If it's not empty, it is creating some HTML. So this is HTML that will basically create, see this little, like, let me get my little highlighter here. Where is it? Oh, I thought I had like a little highlighter. Oh, whiteboard. No, never mind. Sorry, I'm just playing around with my software in here. This little thing, just the row right here. So this with the little cute little checkbox and the link and the name of my item, that row is what it's generating. That's what this is. This is the code for that row. And does that make sense? Go back over to Slack here. Oh, nice. Somebody, thanks Jamie for posting that workaround to the 30-day limit, written by SharePoint Siren. Cool. All right, so this code right here is, see, you can see the little icon, task, PNG, and all that stuff. That is what creates what that row looks like. So it's appending it to a string variable. So this is tr is a row in HTML. So it's just basically putting a whole row together. So you can, if you know HTML, you can write your code and make that row look like whatever you want. So each time for each of these items that it's getting, it's appending. So it's creating like row, 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 and piling them onto each other. And then now this is the pain about this, is that it's only sending a reminder to me. So whoever I am, I went to the list, I clicked add a reminder. That is individual for me. That is just my reminder. It is my flow. It's not shared with anybody. It's my reminder. I'm the only one that's going to get it. So to me, that's kind of a limitation. So it's sending me a reminder email, and it's got all this pretty HTML in it. And then it's doing a table down here, and it's putting that variable of the table rows that it appended, row after row after row, and it's sticking it in there to basically insert the table in this nice pretty email. So this is a big HTML formatted email. Now, and it's not really it's a notification, so it's only going to go to me, the workflow owner. Now, I listed in the blog post a couple of things that you could tweak in here and common things you would want to tweak. But the main thing I would think, and you all tell me what you think, the main thing I would think you'd want to tweak is who it sends the email to. Do y'all have any comments about what this workflow does, or what kind of you think the common things that you would want to change in here would be? Oh, by the way, it says couldn't send a reminder. If any of that stuff before it gives an error, if that's failed or timed out, then it's going to send me an email. So this is great little best practice to use in a flow, is to do some error handling and saying, if this timed out or errored, then send you an email. Now, flows do send error emails saying that your flow failed, but this is a way to give you, a more specific error and make sure that you get it. Sandy said, note the trigger for these reminders is a daily recurrence and they're never running for more than 30 days. Well, yeah, it's gonna start once a day, but nothing in this flow is waiting for anything. This flow is never gonna wait. This flow is not sitting there waiting for the next day. Y'all understand that? So sometimes, like in SharePoint Designer workflows, you might create a workflow and then tell it to pause for a day and then tell it to loop and pause for a day and loop. That's not what this is doing. This whole workflow is triggering once a day at 15 o'clock, 1500 hours. And then the whole thing is, it's running, and then it's done. It's finished. It's over. And then the next day it's starting over. So that this specific flow and what it's doing has nothing to do with any 30-day limits. So, yeah, I think that's what, you said convert time zone. Yeah, you could do that. Somebody asked me if I could use the action called convert time zone. Since it already had that formula that had the UTC in it, it was easier for me to just stick a -6 in there than it was to create a whole other action and then take that variable and put it in here. I just put it, it's just efficiency. I just put a -6 in right there in the formula. But yeah, you could totally do that. All right, so now let me show you what we can do to expound upon this. And what I'm going to do is create a flow that is going to go to the project manager. So there's a project manager in my list. Let me show you my project manager. See that? Project owner, sorry. There's a project owner, project manager person. So do you think that would be a common thing that you'd want to do? Is make it go to the project manager, make that reminder go to whoever the project manager is, sending them a list of their items that are starting that day or whatever. Lisa says, is this a feature that's still rolling out? I think it is, and I know you'll definitely only see it if your list has a date time field that you added to it. So it's not just going to be in any list. All right, so yes. All right. So I want it to go once a day and look for the items that have a date coming up and email the project owner the list of their items. How does that sound? All right. So I created that. Let me, I'm going to bring it over to my other screen over here. And then I'm going to build it for y'all over in this one that I already started. Okay. So this is the one that I generated at the beginning of Power Hour. All right. So what we want to do is, okay, none of this needs to change when it reminds me. I'll just say, I'm going to change this to 1. And I'm going to, I'm not going to need this get my profile in the long run. I can delete that later. All right, so the getting the days is the same, and getting the list name is the same. Getting this filtered list is the same. Actually, I'm going to change it to another field, because this other field, scheduled completion date, is the one that I put a bunch of them scheduled to be completed tomorrow, so that I'd have a whole bunch when I run the flow that would be grouped and have multiple people in it and be able to show you the full kind of capabilities of it. So I've got a lot of test data that uses that scheduled completion date. So that's why I'm just going to change this to use a different date. Different date field. So let me grab that real quick. Schedule completion date. That little formula, that little function box is so tiny. I'm trying to just grab something and copy it. Okay. Schedule completion date is in there twice. So that makes sense. I'm just putting a different date field in here just for test purposes, just because I have lots of data in my test list that uses that one. All right. So it's getting all the items. That's fine. It's going to get all the items that fall into that range. And then it's going to, if the list of items is not empty, if it's got stuff in it. Now this is where I'm going to start changing it. This section right here, the apply to each. This is, I want this to get a list of project managers. And then for each project manager, then I want it to put this list together, right? So how am I going to get a list of project managers? Just like in anything in SharePoint, there are probably a lot of different ways to go about this. But I'll show you the way that I did. So I'm going to create a variable. It's an array, and I'm going to create an array, which is a list of the project managers. So when I need to add another variable, I have to add it up at the top. So I'll just initialize my variable. Call it var PM. PMs. Making an array. And it doesn't have a value yet. I don't know the value yet. Jam Potty says I have real issues with filtering. So yeah, we're going to do some filtering in here. So I've just basically said, here's a variable that I'm going to use, and I'm going to go ahead and rename this PM array. And then go back to down here. Okay, for each item that it finds, what do I want to happen? I want to get the project manager for each item. So for each of these items, I'm going to append the array. Sorry, when I expand these conditions, everything jumps around. So I've got to, add PM to array. So I'm going to do a condition. If basically it looks to see if the project manager is in the array yet. So let me go ahead and rename that. Is PM in array. And so if this item that I'm looking at, variable PMs, if it's somewhere in the variable, if it contains this project manager that's in this item I'm looping through, project owner email, there. If the array contains the project owner email, then if yes, don't do anything. So this is how I'm making a list of project managers with only each project manager only listed once. So this is kind of like my way of doing a distinct. Again, there could be other ways. There could be more efficient ways. You all feel free to chime in. So if it contains the project owner already, I'm not going to do anything. If not, I'm going to append to an array variable. And that's my variable PMs. And then this is where I'm going to put that project owner email. And because I'm using email because I know it's unique. So it's appending to the array variable. And then, I got to zoom out. This thing is so huge. Contains project owner, it appends. Okay. So let me shrink this down a little bit. So this condition is going to append it to the array. And then, so it's going to start just adding just this list of project managers, and those are going to accumulate. And then then I don't need this right here. I'm about to move it, this append to string variable. I don't want to do that for each item. I want to do that for each project manager. So what do I need to do next? I need to loop through all the project managers, right? Does that sound like fun? I spent all morning doing this, by the way, getting it to work. It's kind of tricky. All right, so for each project manager, so I'm going to just say for each, you can go to my built-in section, apply to each, and each what? Each one of these. All right, for each project manager, then what is it going to do? Then it's going to go get that, start putting together a list for each one. So what I need to do is I need to get a filtered list of the projects for that project. So here's where we go with the filtering. You were asking about filtering. So Jamie said, are we talking about OData filtering and flow? Well, we did that up above. That was the built-in thing that filtered it. But what we're going to do now is just using a regular filter array. So for each project manager, I'm going to do a filter array. I'll just type it here. Filter array. And what am I filtering exactly? I'm going to filter this original list of SharePoint items that I got, where the project owner email, move out of the way, is equal to this current item that I'm filtering. Apply to each. This is apply to each. Let me type. Can I change it? Yeah, let me rename that to each PM. Oops. All right, so as it loops through each project manager in that array, it's going to say, is the project owner equal to this current item? Project owner email equal to the current item. So it's just filtering that and narrowing it down to just that sub list of items. And then for each of those filtered items for this project manager, because remember this is for one project manager, then it's going to do the append to string variable. So I have to do another apply to each. Apply to each project, for this PM. And then for each what? For each things that get filtered in here. Now I noticed that, I think that's, my filter array. I didn't name it anything, but there's my filter array right there. That's these things. Okay, for each of these things, then that's when it's going to do the append to string variable. So I need to take this. Let me see if it'll let me move it. Got to shrink some stuff down. Yeah, there we go. So all I did was just took the append to string variable that it already had, and I just moved it down. And then I'm still in the each PM thing, right? For each PM, then I'm going to send an email. there is a new send an email preview that lets you actually do rich text and stuff in it. I'm not going to use that one because this solution that I'm using actually relies on doing a bunch of HTML. So I'm going to use the old school send an email. Okay, then I'm going to send an email. Who am I going to send it to? The project manager. So that is going to be that's this thing. Each project manager. Yeah, pretty sure. Yeah, that's that variable. Okay, then the subject is your projects or something. And the body is, I'm going to take that body that it already put together down here. I'm just going to select all, copy, and then got to do is HTML yes. Paste. And that table rows thing, I didn't change the name of it. That was that code that it puts together where it strings all the rows together. And I'm just leaving that in here. And this thing I don't need. There. How many days do I have here? Let me change it to 1. Let me shrink everything down. Golly. Yeah, okay, so that's 1. Okay, y'all, let me recap real quick. So it's going to go get all those SharePoint items, and I can get rid of this. Hold on, let me get rid of, I can get rid of this too. Lots of nested ifs, huh? Okay, that is a big email. So if it is in that date range, if there's nothing in the date range, it doesn't do anything. If there is, then it, for each item that it finds in the date range, it looks at that project manager field. And if the project manager field already exists in this array of project managers, it doesn't do anything. If it doesn't already exist, it adds it to it. So then you have this little list of project manager email addresses. And then for each project manager, that's when it goes and filters the SharePoint list of projects by that project manager. And then for each project manager, their list, it filters down the SharePoint items, then it appends the string variable, and then it sends the email with all the appended information together. Make sense? That's a lot, right? Did I go? Anything I need to go over again? Let me go test that. Hopefully it'll break. Surely it can't just run perfectly the first time, right? It's getting the items. I love the way you can look at it while it's running. Ooh, I got a couple of emails. Let me see. Oh, it's going to the wrong, I have the wrong person in the to box. Yeah. Oh, you know what I forgot to do in the flow? And that I learned this when I tested it earlier, is that you actually have to clear that variable back out after you send the email because it keeps accumulating. So after it sends the email to each project manager, then it needs to set that variable again. Oops. And I'm just going to set it to blank. Oops, not the variable PMs, but the table rows. So it needs to set the table rows to blank because what it's doing is it's getting all these table rows and appending them. Then for the next project manager, it's appending more of them. So you don't want that to happen. So I'm sending the email to the wrong person. So let me see. Each project for this project manager. I need to make sure I'm putting the right project manager's name in here. It's going to be the variable PM. Ed says there are limit to how many fields are returned in your query. Yeah, that's why you want to run. That's definitely why you want to do the query as you're getting the items. Don't get all the items and then do like an if, then loop through all of them. So just limit it down and do the query while you're getting them. But yeah, I think that 500 is the limit. That would make sense. Hold on, let me see. Who am I sending my email to? I'm sending it to, apply to each PM. Yeah. Yeah, okay. And I'm going to test again. So it's running, it's testing, it's running successfully. It's just, it was sending me too many things in my list of projects. All right, and it's going. So I've got 6 different items that fall into this filter, and it's basically looking through each of them to add the project manager to the array. Sending me all the emails. Okay, so it went through each one to look to add the project manager to the array, and then gotta refresh that. There we go. This is so hard to do on this big screen here with it. It's big enough for you all to see it in the video, but so it's, go to the first one. So this first one is the PM an array yet? No. So then it's appending student 105 to the array. And then the next one, are they in the variable? No, they're appending it. And then go to number 4, and this one already is appended, so it doesn't do it again. So that, again, that's why it's only got each project manager. There are 3 different ones. It's only got them each in the array once. So then the first one is going to be who? Chris. And then, so it's filtering that list down for things that are just assigned to him. And then for, oh, so this is grayed out. That is weird. I think maybe that's, let me see if that one's doing something wrong. Might have to look at that again. Oh, yeah, that's what I did. I didn't edit that. I just copied it over, and I didn't look at it. Dun, dun, dun. Link to item. It's got to be the link to item that's in the filtered array, not the link to the original item. I remember when I did this before, I actually had to save this and save the flow and go back out of it. Let me just put some asterisks in here. Okay. So it's the append to string variable was being weird. Okay, and then it's sending an email with, okay. Then it's clearing it out, and then it's done. I'm going to save it and go back out and then go back in. Sometimes when I've noticed every now and then that some of the stuff won't show over on the right side, and then you go back out and in and then it does. I don't know. Okay, any... Cool. Let's see. Oh yeah, thanks Sandy for the link to the community forum. Apply to each project manager. filter the array. Each project for this project manager is, I'm going to put the link to the item. That looks different than the one that I got working. Oh, yeah. Body. Table rows. Just checking. Probably did like a variable, so like I named them different or something like that. Oh, let me see. Oh yeah, cool. Let me just show you this working one. That's the one that I'm looking at that I got functioning. Let me just show you what it does. Everything visually looks the same. I did test the heck out of this all morning while I was building it, so let me run that one and show you what it looks like. So it sends an email. I always spend, every time I create flows, I always spend so much time on them. Okay, so this one looks correct. It went to me, and it's got, these are 1 day before scheduled completion date. So test Wednesday and Wednesday test form. Let's go look at those items in SharePoint. Okay, so I'll go ahead and filter this by me so I can see which items I'm looking at. And then the project completion date, or sorry, scheduled completion date is the 24th. See both of these? And that's the Wednesday test form and test Wednesday. Those are the two items that showed in my email. So that did come out correctly. It just takes a lot of testing and trying. I don't know what to tell you about that, but it does work. Do y'all understand the concept of what I was doing in getting all the project managers? And you saw how it narrowed down the list, and originally there were 6 different items, and then it went through and looped and narrowed down from the 6 items that it got and got 3 specific project managers. Let's go look at the run of this, the history of this one. Okay, so it okay, so there are 6 items that have a scheduled completion date of a day from now. So it loops through each of the 6 items, and basically appends that project manager name. So again, it only does each project manager once, and then see this apply to each project manager? I've narrowed it down to only 3 project managers. So then that's when I'm filtering this array. So it's spitting out, like this first one is student 105. This next one is, the output is Chris Rogers, and then the third one is me. So it's spitting out those 3 filtered sets of tasks. And then, yeah, flow is a hobby. You're totally right. Flow is a hobby. I had fun doing this. I mean, it's not the most time efficient thing sometimes with these more complex ones. And then the trick is that for each project manager, then you're getting their list of stuff, and you're appending it to the string variable. So that way you just have a row or 2 for each project manager. And that's what is then table rows is that project manager's specific items. And then when it sends the email, that is the value, that's the stuff that it's going to have in the email, is that fancy HTML. And then it has to clear the variable back out. That was the last thing that I had to fix in my troubleshooting. All right, any last questions about that set reminders and what you can do with it and what you can tweak, and questions about the way I did it in my blog post? And as you're asking questions or not asking questions, I'll show you, let's see. a cool thing that I did. All right, I created an Excel spreadsheet. Hold on, let me go back out. This is something just fun that Joelle and I are doing. I was debating showing you this because this is kind of like, fancy behind the scenes stuff, but I'll show you anyway because it involves flow. Come on, spreadsheet. Come on, where are you? There we go. I called it SBC 19 tweets. This is going to be a Twitter thing. So there's this service called Buffer, which lets me buffer my tweets and send them out over time. And then, so what I'm going to do is have a spreadsheet full of tweets. See, these are tweets about SharePoint conference in Las Vegas in May. So we're going to write this spreadsheet. I don't know how many we're going to write, but we're going to write, I just put up to, I don't know, there's like, oh, here's some test stuff I was doing in here. Up to 142 are in this table. And then we're going to have this spreadsheet just sitting here in OneDrive. And then every day, once a day, I'm going to initialize a variable, and then it's going to go look at the spreadsheet and go basically every single tweet, every single row that has a tweet in it is going to have a hashtag. That's why I use that as my, contains this, because I have a bunch of empty rows in there because we're going to be writing more tweets later and I just haven't filled it up. But you have to define your table when you get flow to look at it. So you have to have that defined table in the spreadsheet. So that's why I filled all those empty rows. So it's going to go and look through that column called tweets. This is the get a row action. So it's going to go loop through all those rows until the tweet that it finds has a hashtag in it. So basically it's not empty. It's not an empty row. And then, let's see, I don't have anything in advanced mode. So it's getting this row from this table called Twitter tweets and the key column. So I had to create a number column. So the first column in the spreadsheet is just numbers 1 through 43 or whatever it was. So you have to tell it which column is your key column that has this unique number in it. And then you have to tell it which specific field which specific row that you want to get when you do get a row. Well, here's what I did is this variable is called variable var_rand, it's a random number. So I just have it generating, as soon as the workflow starts, it's generating a random number between 1 and 100. I probably should change that to 143. I don't think we're going to write that many though. So every time it starts, it's going to generate a random number, and then it's going to go to that row of that random number. And it's going to keep going and getting a row until it finds a row that has data in it, basically. So it's going to go look at that whole list, find some random number like 80, and look to see if it's got a tweet in it. And if it doesn't, it's going to go find generate another random number. So get a row, and that's going to generate a random number again. So it's just going to keep doing this until the tweet row, until it finds the data. And then it's going to create an update. So it's just basically going to buffer a tweet using the text from that tweet column out of the spreadsheet. So Joelle and I are going to create a bunch of tweets, and then over time, just once a day, it's going to go find one and tweet it out. So I'm trying to promote the SharePoint conference, but I'm trying to automate some of this. So just I can do it all once and then not have to think about it. Yeah, cool. What do y'all think about that? It's pretty fun, huh? And then I started doing some, I know we got to stop in 5 minutes, but I was doing some fun. That one's not turned on yet because we don't have enough tweets in it. But I was doing like every day go look through everything that the SharePoint conference, SPConf Twitter handle has tweeted, and go just retweet whatever the last thing was and stuff like that. So I was playing, that's what I did this weekend. That's my fun, sitting on the sofa on a rainy day with the kids, creating automations. Anyway, I'll go back to here. If I didn't mention, there's a SharePoint conference coming up in May. Who all is going to be there? Roll call. Oh, Jamie, to answer your question, yeah, out of that whole list of in the spreadsheet of random tweets, I don't care if it sends the same tweet more than once. Buffer will actually stop it. So Buffer, just the service Buffer, automatically will give the Twitter, give the flow will error out, and the error will be that Buffer said, you just sent this tweet recently or something like that. So Buffer will actually control whether it sends it to the same tweet too often. Yeah. Pretty cool. All right. See y'all at the SharePoint conference. Who's going? Roll call. I did a little, on my YouTube channel, there's a little video that I did promoting my sessions too. So, but I got to wrap it up. We are having, let's see, we're having Power Hour next week on the 30th and not on the 6th because we're teaching our 4-day Power Apps class. It's a virtual online class, iwmentor.com. So we'll be teaching that class that first week of February, but then we'll, Power Hour will be back after that. Thanks everybody for coming, and thanks for joining the Slack channel. We have an ideas section in Slack. Let me go to, now I don't always use all the Power Hour ideas from there, but it's a good place for you all to kind of throw out some concepts, and sometimes I'll see like patterns of common things that people want to do, and you can actually pin the some of the ideas so that they show up in that little right panel of pinned items, and those are the ones that, and you can go vote for other people's, just because Slack has those like little thumbs up and stuff like that that you can do. You can vote for other people's ideas in there. And I will be at a conference next month in Copenhagen, speaking at the Intra-Team Conference. And so to answer your question, that's the closest I'll be to, you're asking if I was going to be in Manchester. No, that's the closest I'll be to Manchester, Copenhagen. All right. Thanks, everybody, and appreciate you coming. And let me know here in Slack if you didn't get the newsletter about Power Hour, because I try and stay in the habit of sending them out every time we're about to have Power Hour. Lisa said this one made my head hurt. Yeah, it's pretty complicated going like getting a sub list of items and getting a sub array and then looping through that, and yeah, it gets pretty crazy. So thanks for coming. Bye.
Bye-bye.